Have you ever opened an old history book or spun a vintage globe and noticed names of countries that just aren't there anymore? It's a bit like a geographical ghost story. Where did they go today? We're going on a journey through time to uncover the fascinating stories of countries that have vanished from the map. Let's start with a classic, Yugoslavia. For much of the 20th century, Yugoslavia was a major player in the Balkans, a socialist federation uniting diverse ethnic and religious groups. It was formed after World War I, bringing together Serbs, Croats, Slovenes, Bosniaks, Montenegrins, and Macedonians under one flag. For decades, under the leadership of Marshal Tito, this diverse mix held together. But after Tito's death in 1980, economic troubles and rising nationalism began to pull the country apart. By the early 1990s, the federation had dissolved into a series of brutal wars. And from its ashes, 7 new independent nations eventually emerged: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Kosovo. It's a powerful reminder of how fragile national unity can be. Next up, let's travel east to the Soviet Union, or the USSR. For 69 years, this was the largest country in the world, a communist superpower that stretched across 11 time zones. It was a union of 15 republics, from Russia to Ukraine, from Kazakhstan to the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. The USSR was a global force, a rival to the United States in the Cold War, pioneering space exploration and wielding immense military power. But by the late 1980s, the system was crumbling. A stagnant economy, political repression, and growing desires for independence in the constituent republics created a perfect storm. Under Mikhail Gorbachev's policies of glasnost openness and perestroika restructuring, the floodgates opened. In 1991, the Soviet Union officially dissolved, and those 15 republics became independent countries, completely redrawing the map of Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Now, how about a country that split not into many pieces, but just 2? I'm talking about Czechoslovakia. This was a nation born from the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire after World War I. It was a prosperous, democratic state in Central Europe, home to 2 closely related but distinct peoples, the Czechs and the Slovaks. For most of its existence, they coexisted peacefully, however. After the fall of communism in 1989 during the Velvet Revolution, political differences between the Czech and Slovak leaders began to grow. Instead of fighting, they chose a different path. In what became known as the Velvet Divorce, they peacefully negotiated the separation of the country. On January 1, 1993, Czechoslovakia ceased to exist, and the Czech Republic and Slovakia were born. It's a rare and admirable example of a national split without bloodshed. Let's head to Southeast Asia and talk about South Vietnam. Officially the Republic of Vietnam, it existed from 1955 to 1975. This country was a product of the Cold War. Created after the First Indochina War ended French colonial rule and divided Vietnam into a communist north and a capitalist south. South Vietnam, backed heavily by the United States, was locked in a bitter conflict with North Vietnam and its Viet Cong allies. The Vietnam War raged for years, causing immense devastation and loss of life. In 1975, after the withdrawal of American troops, North Vietnamese forces captured the southern capital, Saigon. The war ended, and the 2 Vietnams were unified under communist rule as the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. South Vietnam, as a separate political entity, was wiped off the map. What about a union that was more of a political idea? Let's look at the United Arab Republic. This might be one you haven't heard of. In 1958, Egypt and Syria decided to merge into a single state. The goal, championed by Egyptian leader Gamal Abdel Nasser, was Pan-Arabism, the idea of uniting all Arab nations into one superstate. The United Arab Republic was meant to be the first step. Cairo became the capital, and Nasser was its president. However, the union was troubled from the start. Syrians felt dominated by the much larger and more powerful Egypt, and political and economic integration proved difficult. Just 3 years later, In 1961, a military coup in Syria led to its secession from the Union. Egypt continued to call itself the United Arab Republic for another decade, but the dream of a unified Arab state had faded. Now, let's go way back in time, to a country that was absorbed by its larger neighbor, the Kingdom of Sikkim. Nestled in the Himalayas between India, Nepal, and Bhutan, Sikkim was an independent monarchy for over 300 years. It was a beautiful, serene mountain kingdom with a unique Tibetan-influenced culture. By the 20th century, however, it had become a protectorate of India, which handled its defense and foreign relations. In 1975, amidst political turmoil and with the monarchy's popularity waning, the Sikkimese people voted in a referendum to abolish the monarchy and join India. Sikkim officially became India's 22nd state, and the ancient kingdom ceased to be an independent country. And finally, a case of reunification: Germany. After World War II, Germany was divided into two states. West Germany, the Federal Republic of Germany, was a democratic, capitalist nation aligned with the West. East Germany, the German Democratic Republic or GDR, was a communist state under the influence of the Soviet Union. The city of Berlin was also divided, with the infamous Berlin Wall becoming the most potent symbol of the Cold War. For over 40 years, these two Germanys existed side by side, their peoples separated by an Iron Curtain. But in 1989, as communism collapsed across Eastern Europe, the Berlin Wall fell. This momentous event paved the way for German reunification. Less than a year later, in October 1990, East Germany was officially absorbed into West Germany, creating the single, unified Germany we know today. One country disappeared, but a nation was made whole again. From peaceful divorces and referendums to brutal wars and ideological collapses, the reasons countries disappear are as diverse as the countries themselves. These stories aren't just historical footnotes, they're powerful lessons about politics, identity, and the ever-changing nature of our world. The map we see today is just a snapshot in time. Who knows what it will look like in another 100 years? Thanks for watching this journey through forgotten lands. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history and geography. See you next time.